Hey guys, my name's Ashlyn. I'll be talking about the 2005 Kashmir earthquake. So why was this earthquake in particular considered the deadliest earthquake? Well, on October 8th, 2005, was supposed to be a typical day for the people, but that morning they got hit with a 7.6 magnitude earthquake, which caused damage to buildings, homes, and the overall foundation. It affected the Northwest Frontier Province and the Azad, Jammu, and Kashmir Province, which totaled about 5.5 million people before the earthquake, and 88% of that population lived in rural areas. So the earthquake occurred southwest of the Eurasian tectonic plate and north of the Indian tectonic plate. The northern plates of India are being thrusted into the Himalayas, as you can see on the image to the right there. And the mountains are being pushed by this activity. So it's causing them to slowly move towards the Himalaya mountains, and the slow motion makes it the most active hotspot for earthquakes. So along that red line there, you can see that that's the convergent boundary. The earthquake also just so happened to occur along the Balakot Bog Fault, which is a reverse fault that runs along the Jhelum River from Muzaffarabad to Nashara. The affected areas in Pakistan were Muzaffarabad and Balakot, with damages in areas of Islamabad and Murree. The epicenter was about 65 miles northeast of Islamabad's Pakistani capital, which is near Muzaffarabad, and the hypocenter was 12 miles below the epicenter. And so on the picture there, you can see the red dot of showing the epicenter and then how far it went out of the earthquake to where people could feel it. The earthquake lasted about 60 seconds long, which is longer than the average 30 seconds. And it had an intensity of 10 on the modified Mercalli intensity scale. And so it destroyed a lot of the foundation in the areas. So unfortunately, there were deaths that occurred. And so it was around 80,000 people who died from this earthquake and 100,000 people who were left injured. And to this day, it's still considered one of the deadliest earthquakes to have happened in South Asia. And it also left 3 million people homeless. So the building cost damages totaled around $5.2 billion. And the materials that they used before the earthquake, which didn't meet up to building code standards, and the area actually in Pakistan, they never planned for a natural disaster. So as you can see on the right there, that's the cause of it, was because they used mostly stones, concrete, and wood to build their houses and markets and schools. So some of the after effects were aftershocks, landslides, and destruction from those aftershocks and landslides. And so on October 27th, 2005, which is about 3 weeks after the first earthquake, there was about 978 aftershocks with a magnitude greater than 4. And the landslides were created from monsoons, snow, and fish rain, but 80% of that was considered small and 10% was considered large. And the larger of the landslides occurred near the faults. Um, and so how did they recover from this? So it took months after the earthquake, people were still trying to cope with it, but they had to come to terms that rebuilding what they once had would take years. And so after months of helping survivors, the International Rescue Committee started to focus on helping the survivors building homes, schools, and create jobs. but to this day, the affected areas from the earthquake is an ongoing issue. A decade after the earthquake, schools are not rebuilt. And so teachers are struggling to teach because of the poor conditions of it. And so a lot of times they just teach when the weather is decent. And as much as they had the right intentions of rebuilding the community, poverty overrules the surrounding areas. So you can see on the right here, locals use the basic materials that they have. So they use mud, grass, clay, leaves, and bamboo to build homes. And the donations totaled about $6.5 billion to help for relief and reconstruction. But sadly, the government hasn't lived up to its promises of rebuilding the area. And so to this day, people are still trying to recover from this tragedy. And if it would ever occur again, they wouldn't be up to the building codes. And so it could be even worse of a earthquake that could happen and even more deaths. But that's my presentation on the 2005 Kashmir earthquake. Thank you.